This podcast is a proud member of the Fan Hub 100. Football without fans is nothing, so we've partnered with Fan Hub to put fans first. Search Fan Hub app to play your part in the journey.
You're listening to the Voices of the Vic podcast with Ben Aiton and Mike Duffy. This episode contains some strong language.
Hello and welcome to Voices of the Vic podcast with me, Mike Duffy and Ben Aiton. It's been exactly a month since myself and Ben graced the airwaves to talk about Watford in a football capacity. We obviously had that interview with Chris Stark, which we hope you all enjoyed, on the 22nd of May. But in terms of talking about Watford and performances and everything else, we had our Voices of the Vic end of season awards exactly a month ago today, 15th of May, and it's been a good break. Ben, how's your break been, mate? You been all good?
Evening, mate. Yeah, all good. Really enjoyed the break, actually. I think we both needed it. It's been a bit intense for the last year or so. We had our year anniversary the other day, didn't we, on Sunday? So it's been quite intense. We've not really had a break because last season just quickly went into the new season, didn't it? For the end of the Premier League, went straight into the Championship, and it was so many games in the Championship as well. So, yeah, this is the first time we've actually had a bit of a break, and it's been nice, hasn't it? In a nice way. I have missed it as well. Chatting football with you. It's not great. Not chatting about Watford all the time, but yeah, I'm glad we're back in some kind of capacity to talk about transfers and rumours and the questions that we've still got from the listeners. So yeah, really enjoyed the break. I've had like 2 little mini trips away. I've been to Isle of Wight. I've been to Clacton with the family. Still playing 6-a-side football, and yeah, things are all good, mate. I've had my first vaccine as well. I don't know if I'm coming across sounding like I'm full of cold, but had my vaccine on Thursday and it hit me for 6. Felt like I've been hit by a bus, and I couldn't go into work yesterday. I was that bad, but I feel better today. But yeah, I'm a bit full of cold, so I do apologise if it comes across like that.
No worries, mate. Count yourself lucky you don't always sound like you're full of cold like I do. The amount of times, because a lot of my jobs I've had in the past have been taking telephone calls, and the amount of times that they say they're trying to make small talk while I'm checking something, and they're like, "Oh, you got a cold then, have you?" And it's like in the middle of summer, I'm like, "No, that's just how I sound, unfortunately." So yeah, but like you said, mate, it's been nice to have a break. I mean, to be honest, mate, these last couple of weeks you've been doing anything but, because, and this is what the listeners won't know, any sort of transfer targets that you've seen us tweet about, put on Instagram, just put about anywhere, that's all been Ben, that has, you know. I've been really taking a back seat, but you've been absolutely smashing it and keeping us up to date with all the transfer news and everything else, which we all thank you for. I think one of the listeners said he put on one of the Instagram posts.
It was on Instagram, yeah.
He said you were the first guys that I heard about it from, so that's hats off to you, that is, Ben. But in terms of the break, it has been welcome. You know, from my point of view, since we've last recorded, I've handed my notice in at my work, and then I'm starting a new job on the 21st, and I've got my vaccine this Saturday as well, my first vaccine, because it's open to me now. So yeah, it's all going well, hopefully. So.
And you're looking to move soon as well, so yeah, congratulations on the new job. Hopefully. And that, and yeah, looking to move soon, so yeah, things are looking up for yourself, isn't it?
Hopefully, mate, more of a career move, this one. You know, I've been working in offices pretty much my entire life, and you know, no disrespect intended to the companies that I've worked for, because you know they've all been good jobs, but I think it's about time I make a career move, and I'm going to be learning to be an electrician. So yeah, fingers crossed all goes well, and then all goes well with the move as well. Obviously got a Saturday team to manage next season and everything. So yeah, but Well, we might as well start because we've, as you've seen on Twitter and Instagram, we've got a lot to get through. But me and Ben decided what we'll do is we'll start with the transfers that have been confirmed, then we'll go to a little break, and then we'll talk about some of the transfer targets. With the transfer targets, we'll just whisk over a few names, but then some of them we'll go into a bit more detail. But we'll start in chronological order, Ben. The first transfer of the season confirmed was Kwadwo Bar from Rochdale. Now, there are a few murmurs about this one going around, although this one, a couple of the Poxos deals in the last couple of years they've not been heavily linked, and then all of a sudden we've signed them. Like the loser, Imran Loser, I think he was only linked probably about a week before we signed him. Usually, with transfer targets, it's in the pipeline for weeks, months, and everything else, and then you eventually sign him. But with Quadwo by completely come out of nowhere, and he's just to give a bit of an insight to the listeners, we've signed him on a 5-year deal. We announced it on the 17th of May. He's 18 years old. He was born in Stuttgart in Germany. He's made 44 appearances for Rochdale in total, scoring 3 and assisting 2. And here's the interesting part. He was on the verge of signing for Man City in January, but he failed the medical. And you know what Man City are like with their youngsters, so the fact that they've almost snapped him up, Ben, surely points to us bagging a talented player there.
Yeah, and he's England under-20s international,
Yes.
is that right? I don't know if any of the listeners have seen it, but when Watford announced it on their website, they showed a couple of his goals for Rochdale as well, and he's got a fierce strike on him. He scored a brace down at the Valley against Charlton, and one of the goals was just like you'd stand up and applaud if that happened in your ground. He looks like a really exciting prospect. He actually started his career at Crystal Palace. He came through their youth system. He was actually one of the ball boys at Palace as well, and he's quite well known down there as well, because I think there was a game back in 5 years ago or so where I think the West Ham goalkeeper Adrian was time wasting, and he was really slow reacting to getting the ball back. So what Barr did, he ran onto the pitch and put the ball onto the actual the goal line for him to take it, and he got a standing ovation from everyone in the Selhurst Park. So yeah, it's quite controversial. I don't think Palace fans like that he's actually came to Watford. They know how highly rated he was. But yeah, brilliant for Watford to snap him up. And I know we're going to talk about other transfers as well, but I'm really liking the approach that Watford have done this season. They're looking at young, exciting players, people who they want to give more faith to the youngsters, don't they? And I think we've seen this with the under-23s, where they're looking to get new people in. I think Richard Johnson's the head of the under-23s now, or overlooking
Jimmy
it.
Gilligan, isn't it? He was a bit
it.
before my time, Jimmy Gilligan, but the fact that they've appointed two well-known names within the Watford community sort of points that they want to start building stuff with the youth academy again. Sorry to interrupt you there, Ben, but I'm sure what you were probably going to say was something along the lines of, since the Potsos come in, we've maybe not produced as many youth talents as we would have liked, whereas before that, we were renowned for bringing players through the youth ranks, and that sort of went. So, yeah, it's good to see.
100%. I think the last person that actually came through the youth system was Tommy Hoban, and that was in the promotion season that we got up from the Championship to the Prem. Since then, we've not really had the youngsters. Yes, we've had a couple of youngsters to make an appearance here and there, like Brendan Mason and that, but we've not really had anyone else who comes in and actually deserves a spot into the side. So it's exciting for us to actually sign these young talents, especially when he was linked with a big money move to Man City. Unfortunately, he failed a medical, but it was good enough for Watford. We saw it failed and we went in straight away because we saw the boys got talent. So you're really excited about this. Also, another thing, whilst we were talking about the under-23s, aren't you puzzled that there was no one being like a lone manager? Like, I think Watford have mentioned it, Adam Leventhal have mentioned it. There's no one at Watford, but prior to now, who was in charge with sending people out on loans, like the youngsters. Other clubs have a loan manager where Watford didn't have that. I found that a bit amusing. I thought, what?
You'd think you'd get more of the under-23s going out on loan. We had Sonny Blulow Everton go out to Eldstone. I think that was only for a small amount of time. I think there was maybe a handful of others, but I think absolutely, Ben. I think a lot of people have said in the past that these under-23 leagues aren't competitive at all. It's reserve football. It's just
Yeah.
another way of reserve football. Now, if you're a youngster and you're wanting to get through and maybe try and find a path through to the first team, really, what you need to be doing is going out to League Two, Conference. You know, if you're a young lad, a conference loan wouldn't hurt you if it's top half a conference, or you know, if you're in a relegation battle in a conference, or maybe lower league, League Two, or something like that. Not playing under 23s football week in week out. You know, we've seen how many people can absolutely smash it at that level, but then they go out on loan and they can't really do anything. So, yeah, that is a little bit, and hopefully this move with um, Richard Johnson and Jimmy Gilligan hopefully spring something like that into life, and they can really start maybe paving the way for some youth talent to come through to the first team, hopefully. But
Yeah, I think Barr's going to be like. I don't think he's not obviously not good enough for the first team. I
well, I
don't
was
think he'll
going to
be.
ask you that, Ben. Do you think we're going to see him much this season, or do you think he'll be out on loan, or what would you
I,
do?
I see him featuring in for pre-season games. Obviously, Cisco would want to have a look at him and see what he's about and what he can bring to the side. But I think it's probably a bit too early. Maybe if he was in the Championship, they might have wanted him to stick around,
Yeah,
and then he might have been just like Joseph Humbo and have bench appearances and learning the trade, travelling up and down the country and training with the first team. But I think it's just a bit too early for him. Look, he's a young kid. He's got a 5-year contract. We're going to see a lot of him in the future, but I think it's going to be good for him to maybe get like a Championship loan spell, maybe to like a lower Championship, and I'm going to throw a team out there. I think he probably could suit. I think he could suit Peterborough down to a T.
that's a good shout. Especially they. Funnily enough, you've just linked Sonny in perfectly for me. Although we're obviously going to touch on transfer targets later on, but one of them is Sakiri Dembele that we've been linked with.
Yeah,
And if he does leave Peterborough, I'm not saying they're like for like, but it's similar positions, I think. And you know they could. He could suit them down to the ground, as you say. Maybe even Hull, you know, just come up. I'm trying to think Blackpool as well, possibly. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I, like yourself, don't think he will be featuring much this season, unless, of course, he has an absolutely amazing pre-season. But something else you said as well, obviously, the fact that we look into younger players, that's something that you know the listener will sort of pick up on if they haven't already, because the age of some of these players that we've A, signed so far, and B, linked with, and on the years that, you know, Quado Bar was on a 5-year deal. The Pochos love a 5-year deal. So the fact that we're going down that youth with that sort of younger player route just highlights what the Pochos want to do here, and I'm really looking forward to it. So that was on the 17th of May. 27th of May, another man through the door, this time from League 2 Grimsby Town. Matty Pollock, he's 19 years old. He's made 58 appearances for Grimsby in total, scoring 4 goals, and he made his debut in the 2018-19 season. Now, it was quite interesting, Ben, because we often, you know, exchange notes between each other and everything else, and you actually put on there when mentioning Matty Pollock, possible to go out on loan, and I said, did you read that somewhere? And you actually think that he's another one that will go out on loan. But before you before you tell me about whether you think he will or not, what do you think of the signing? Centre back, he's meant to be solid. I've seen mixed reviews, to be honest, from Grimsby fans. Some disappointed that he's left, and some saying that he was too inconsistent. But what was your thought on the signing?
it's enough. It's another youngster through the door that I think he's got potential. I think Watford have seen that this season. They're looking to get the average age down of the squad, and they're looking to improve on their youngsters, because I don't think they have much faith in the under-23s at the moment, if I'm brutally honest. And I think Pollock coming in will be a good addition to the under-23s or the Watford starting lineup in a few years' time. I think it's another case of Ben Wilmot 2.0 at the moment. I think he's a promising youngster. He needs to go out alone, learn the trade, just like Wilmot did, and then come back and see what he can bring to the side. But like you say, Grimsby fans were a bit 50-50 really, weren't they? Some fans were gutted, other fans were like, well, he was injured for part of last season, he didn't really play. Others saying, one main issue that I do have about it, and Grimsby fans highlighted, his pace. He's not a quick guy. You'd think for a young guy, what is he, about 19 years of age?
19, yeah.
He's going to be quick, but supposedly all the Grimsby players are saying that they've seen buses turn quicker than him, and that in the Prem he would get absolutely destroyed with the pace. But it's one of those, isn't it? I think we would have to send him out on loan again just to see what he can do. Definitely too early to be involved with a Watford team. But I liked his interview on the Watford website, on Watford YouTube. He looked very similar vibes from Ben Wilmot, actually. Ben Wilmot was saying he throws his body in the way and he's here to fight for his place and he's not here to sit on the bench and that. And Pollock did exactly the same, and I was like, okay, I like this. I like that you're willing to graft, but you know you're not going to play straight away. He said, I know if I have to sit on the bench for a few months before I make my appearance, I'll do that. So I like that about him. What do you make of the whole signing? Do you think it's another shrewd bit of business from Watford, or?
I think so. You know, I think he's been linked with sort of similar level teams, to be honest.
Yeah, he was linked with Wolves and West Brom.
I was speaking to a chap called Charlie Zazera, who, you know, listeners might have seen that we used to do stuff on Clubhouse, and he does stuff on Twitter Spaces now. And he said that he was speaking to Ian Holloway about him, because I think Charlie knows Ian Holloway, and Ian Holloway himself, although I wasn't, you know, he didn't get a glowing reference from me and Ian Holloway, but he said that he wouldn't be surprised, you know, if he sort of made that step up and was playing up there in a few years, or, you know, even now. But I think, like yourself, you know, when you first said to me that you saw him going out on loan, I was a bit 50-50, but I think he's 19 years old. We've signed him on a 5-year deal. Maybe, like you said, get him out on loan. Maybe even, you know, just so he can get some game time at a higher level. You know, if he's been playing at League Two, I think Grimsby got relegated last season. If
that's the thing as well. They got relegated down to a conference as well. But he only played with a small handful of games at the start of the season, and that was under Ian Holloway as well. And then once Holloway left, I don't think he was in the side because of selection and injury. So, but I think he's got the right builds to be a really good centre back. I think he's very similar to Harry Maguire on his builds. Harry Maguire isn't the quickest of players, is he? And he can show that he can be a decent defender without pace. It's all about positioning, isn't it? And reading the game. And I think if he's got that upstairs, then he could be a top draw defender.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. You know, it's going to be interesting as well. Obviously, me and Ben are making these predictions. These players could turn around and have an absolutely blinding pre-season. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen there. One player which we don't expect to go out on loan, and again, a 5-year deal. On the 1st of June, it was announced that Imran Loser, unfortunately, that is how he pronounced his name. So now we've got Loser and Success on the same team. So he goes from one extreme to another. 22 years old. He's signed from Nantes in France, and he was born in Nantes as well. He's made 66 appearances for Nantes, scoring 12 goals and assisting 6. And he's also made 5 appearances for Nantes B, scoring 1 goal. And he also made his debut in 18-19 as well as Matty Pollock did. This one's definitely for the first team, Ben. I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about him. Again, you know, when I said that I was talking to Charlie, we originally were speaking to a gentleman that was from a scouting network, like on Twitter, and he was talking about Imran Loser, and he most of those 7 goals were penalties that he scored last season, but he sounds like an exciting player. My worry is though, and I don't know if you've got the same worry, Ben, but where would he fit in the midfield? Surely this means that someone is going to have to, you know, one of the regulars from last season, he's going to have to lose his place because of it. How do you see him going with us?
I think Watford have brought him in thinking they want to improve the team and the squad, and also they've got one eye on Nathaniel Chalobah, having been in his last year of his contract, and so is Will Hughes. What's to say if one of them or both of them didn't want to sign a new contract, so they've kind of had to look elsewhere. But I think he'll be a good addition to the side. I think he's very similar in the style of play that Will Hughes plays. Very technical on the ball. I've also seen that maybe replacement for Etienne Capoue, but I don't think he's.
Yes, that was the comparison I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I've not seen enough of him to say that he's that good enough to be a Capoue replacement. But
Yeah.
look, Chalobah stepped up brilliantly last season, didn't he? And ended up being the replacement for Capoue. So I am really excited about this signing. I think he's a set piece taker as well. He takes corners. He was on their penalties last season once, didn't he? And helped steer them away from relegation because it went down to a playoff game, didn't it, to see if it was going down or not.
They're one of the weird leagues that have these relegate. Well, I say weird leagues. I've sort of grown to the idea. I think Scotland do it where if you finish in a relegation zone, you play someone that's in looking to get promoted. So, and then if you win that, you stay up, or if they win that, they get promoted. And yeah, it's similar to what they did. But you were talking about there, Ben. He's a set piece specialist. Do you think maybe next season, if he's a regular starter, do you think that means no more Troy Deeney absolutely bollock it down the middle penalties? Do you think he's a new penalty taker at the Vic?
I don't. If Troy's on the pitch, you're not taking that ball off Troy Deeney, are you? Unless Cisco's said that look, he's a new penalty taker, but I don't think Cisco would take it away from Troy if he's on the pitch. If he's not on the pitch, yes, I think he would probably be Watford's penalty taker. He looks very convincing when he stands over a ball. I've seen a few of his penalties. Keepers can't get anywhere near them. Puts them right into the corner of the net. So, yeah, I think he's a future Watford penalty taker, a regular penalty taker. But I do really like this signing. It's another one that kind of came out of the blue, wasn't it? I think it was all done and dusted within 2 days, wasn't it? I think people on Twitter. Well, it's been interesting, hasn't it? The Watford transfers that are happening. Basically, if you follow the Watford sporting director, what's his name, Christian Giretti, he basically follows Watford targets when they're really close to being announced. So I think there was a guy on Twitter called Sean. To be fair, he was the first one to spot that we was linked with Loser. I think he was the first one to spot about Pollock as well. And then within a couple of hours, Watford announced the signings. So if you want to be up to date with all Watford transfers, just have a look to see who he's following.
Yeah, well, there's a couple more that he follows as well, which we're going to get into in a little bit in terms of the transfer targets, because we have officially signed one more player, which it is puzzling, but at the same time, it's low risk in my eyes. And you can have your say as well, Ben. But we've signed Ashley Fletcher from Middlesbrough, and he signed just 4 days ago. He officially joins from the 1st of July because that's when his contract runs out from Middlesbrough. But he's someone that's well known, I think, anyway. If you know your Championship football and your Premier League football, if you like your football documentaries, he featured in Sunderland Till I Die. I think it was the first season he featured in. Yeah, I don't think he could hit a cow's arse with a banjo at Sunderland, so that's probably not the most glowing reference I can give him. But 25 years old. He's made 204 appearances so far, and I thought that's quite decent for a 25-year-old. And he scored 55 goals in those 204 appearances. He made his debut in 2013-14 season for Manchester United's youth team in the UEFA Youth League. Now, out of the 204 appearances, this is where it lets him down a little bit. 16 of them, only 16 have been in the Premier League with West Ham. He's played the Europa League qualifying with West Ham as well, because I think they got into Europa League a couple of years ago. They're obviously in it again this season coming, but they got into it a couple of years ago and he was there. He has won the Football League trophy in 2015-16 with Barnsley. I think he got promoted with Barnsley as well and scored in the playoff final.
Scored at Wembley, yeah.
And he's back-to-back under-21 Premier League champion with Manchester United in 14-15 and 15-16 season. So it wasn't a bad year for him in 15-16. Ben, I was in conversation with a young gentleman on our Twitter post, on our Instagram post, when you tweeted about the signing. And
I saw.
he wasn't very happy with the signing, and my personal view is it's a very low risk signing. And again, ladies and gents, he's signed on a 5-year deal. He's still young. I'm 25, still young. Absolutely, I'm totally behind that. Nothing wrong with being 25 years old, although I'm only 25 for another couple of days. But he's cost nothing. I can't imagine he's on astronomical wages, and he's English, although our homegrown quota is absolutely fine. to me, Ben, he's a low-risk signing, and Adam Leventhal's even said on The Athletic, and he's not viewed to be one of these that's going to be starting week in, week out, unless he has an absolutely amazing pre-season, and then if he did get picked, he was absolutely amazing and went on an amazing run. He's not one of these players that's going to be starting week in, week out. So to me, this is quite a low-risk signing. Is that the viewpoint that you're having on it as well, or...?
I totally agree with you. I don't like seeing the Watford fans write him off straight away. Look, we've done that before with Dan Gosling, and look how that's panned out. He's actually been a brilliant signing for the club. We've done it before with other players as well, before they've even kicked a ball.
Yep.
So let's give the guys a chance first. I think maybe people have thought, well, we've had this discussion in our WhatsApp group. If this is the only sign of Watford's makes this summer, then yes, you deserve to have a go and moan at the recruitment, because yes, we're in the Prem now and Ashley Fletcher is the only strikers we've signed, but we're getting the business done really early. If I reckon there's going to be another signing of a striker, one or two. There's players rumoured already, isn't it, that we're going to go through later, of who could potentially sign as well. So let's not write him off too much yet. And what also annoys me is people are saying, oh well, Middlesbrough let him go. Hang on, Ashley Fletcher was in a contract and he decided to run it down. He actually turned down a new contract at Middlesbrough as well because he wanted to move away from the club. And that's when interest came in from other clubs, teams at the top of the Championship, and ourselves, Watford, who have just been promoted. So obviously his head's going to be turned and he won't sign a new contract with Middlesbrough. So I just wanted to make that clear as well.
Yeah.
But last season, yes, you could look at his record and he only scored 2 goals last season, but he only played 12 games because he was injured. The season before, he scored 11 goals in the Championship, and he scored goal of the month as well for an amazing effort from about 45 yards out when he
it was against West
lobbed the
Bromwich.
keeper. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Look, I think it's a good signing. I think it's going to improve the squad depth. I think he's possibly maybe better than Andre Gray due to his age is younger. He's got more probably potential sell-on fee. He's on a lower wages. I think he could maybe offer more than Andre Gray. Look, we've seen situations this year when the ball falls to Andre Gray in a 6-yard box and he can't hit the back of the net. I think if that falls to Ashley Fletcher, that's going into the back of the net. I think he brings more to the game than Andre Gray. Gray can stretch the defence, but there's more to Ashley Fletcher. Like he said in his interview with Watford, he's not just a typical target man.
Yeah, I did like that.
He can do more. He can play with the ball on the floor. He can dribble past people. It was actually a threat for Middlesbrough against us on the opening game of the season.
Yes,
he was their only outlet. He looked dangerous. He had a couple of good opportunities, and it was like we had to try and keep him quiet. And fortunately, we got the clean sheet that day. But yeah, I think it's a decent signing, mate.
Yeah, and I think you've highlighted it perfectly there, Ben, at the start of your little talk about in there, because if this was right towards the end of the transfer window, I'm not saying that this would ever happen. Day. If this was deadline day and we'd not signed a striker yet and we'd just signed Ashley Fletcher, then be pissed off. Not a problem. Because to sign him when, you need a striker desperately and it's transfer deadline day, it does show a lack of ambition. But the fact is, we've got it done early, we've got it wrapped up. Yes, he scored 2 goals last season, but as you've rightly pointed out, he only played a handful of games because of injury. Then he scored 11 goals before that, and yes, it's in the Championship. So, I know people will sit here and say, well, it was in the Championship and we've been promoted. Nobody's saying that he's going to be starting every Premier League game next season. I would happily have a bet right now to say that he does not rack up more than 15 appearances in the Premier League. In fact, I'd go one better. I'd say he doesn't rack up more than 10 appearances in the Premier League, because 15 is almost half the season. I don't think he will. He'll be used as a utility player and he'll be used in the Cups. And do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he takes that opportunity in the Cups to try and sort of force his way through, because no player signs for a club wanting to just sit there on a bench, unless you're Bradley Wright-Phillips when he moved to Chelsea or moved to Man City, I think it was, when he was obviously just doing it for the money. But no, he will want to prove his point, and he will get his chance in the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup and everything like that. I mean, Watford's annual Carabao Cup run will probably be ended in round 2 by, I don't know who's just been promoted, Sutton United. They'll probably knock us out in round 2. But he will take those cup opportunities and he will grab it with both hands. I genuinely don't think he'll make more than 10 appearances in the Premier League. So for those people that are panicking, chill out. The transfer window only opened on the 9th. I think the international transfer window opens on the 1st of July. So let's just not panic just yet, guys. But yeah, that's all the signings that we made. Just another bit of news as well. Rob Elliott signed a new 2-year deal. I'll be honest, it surprised me, but I think I was speaking to a Newcastle fan a couple of weeks ago, and he said he's not overly surprised that we've done this because he's a good character to have, And you look back on the times, you look at the characters that we have in and around the dressing room. Gomez signed up. When he stopped playing, he was an influential character in the dressing room. I'm trying to think who else. Rennie Gilmartin. He's another one. He was an influential character in the dressing room, and I think Rob Elliott will play that character this year. You look at this goalkeepers that we got. Ben Foster, we know he's experienced. Dan Bachman, other than that slight mistake he made in the Euros against North Macedonia, I think he was brilliant. Other than that, he was brilliant against England, I thought personally, and he's going to be the number one going into the season. So I've got no qualms with Rob Elliott signing a new 2-year deal. Have you, Ben?
No, I think you've summed that up perfectly. I think it's a decent renewal. I think he's not going to play. He's quite happy to sit on the bench and play back up and be ready when he's called upon. Like you say, I think it's another character behind the scenes that's quite important behind the scenes, actually, just like Rennie Gilmartin was back in the day. So, yeah, I think it's a good appointment for Watford to get him on for another 2-year deal. And whilst we were discussing Rennie Gilmartin, he's actually been appointed assistant manager at Swindon Town, hasn't he?
Yeah, so massive good luck to Rennie. I popped the tweet out when that news was announced on our Twitter. I popped the tweet out. His co-commentary with John Marks back in that promotion season. It was the promotion season, wasn't it? Or was it the season before? It might have been the season under Sanino.
I can't remember.
I think it was the promotion season, but his co-commentary was brilliant, and you could tell he was a character. He'd been working with Ireland's youth team, I think, up until being appointed to Swindon. So, best of luck to him at Swindon Town, and hopefully it all goes well for him. But we're going to go to a quick ad break, and then when we come back, we'll be talking about the transfer targets that we've been tweeting about and just having our say on them. So, yeah, we'll be back after this quick ad break. If you're looking to buy a property, give Property Price Guru a call. They specialise in helping buyers on their property search and can even negotiate on your behalf, potentially saving you thousands. Email info@propertypriceguru.co.uk and use reference house07, that's house07, for a discounted rate. Yeah, thanks for rejoining us for part 2 of Voices of the Vic. We hope you enjoyed that first segment there, talking about the players that have signed so far for us, and hopefully there's many more. Now, this first transfer target that we're going to talk about, some of them we're literally going to reel off the names, and that we'll just tell you how old they are, what club they're at, and what position, and then some of the others we're going to go into a bit more detail about them because there's probably more to it. We're going to start with the most obvious one first because, to be honest, Ben, I was hoping that by the time we recorded tonight, because we're recording on Tuesday the 15th of June, and he was having his medical today. I think the Watford Observer said he's meant to be having his medical yesterday, but it was then delayed for today. So I was hoping it was going to be announced in time for us recording, but it doesn't look like that's the case. Danny Rose, he's been released from Tottenham. He looks set to be joining back. He's 30 years old. He's made 291 career appearances, scoring 11 goals, and 194 of those 291 have come in the Premier League, and 9 of those 11 goals have also come in the Premier League. And those old enough to know, they will remember that he had a brief loan spell back with us in 08-09 season, making 7 appearances and playing 327 minutes. Now, Ben, again, a little bit of a mixed reaction. But personally, and also as well, we might as well say it now. We will talk about Ashley Young towards the end. But firstly, Ben, does this spell the end of our pursuit of Ashley Young? And secondly, how's your thought process towards his signing? Because personally, I think if he can get his head down and knuckle down, I think this is a brilliant signing, considering it's going to be on a free.
Yeah, I think it puts the Ashley Young rumours to bed, really, and that's why you've probably seen in the last couple of days that Burnley are leaked with him. I think his agent's trying to get him a move now. Possibly Ashley Young was a bit too greedy for Watford. We heard that brilliant interview with Scott Duxbury from the Rookery, and fantastic interview, and he said on that Watford aren't going to spend silly amount on wages now, and maybe Ashley Young was one of those guys who wanted a silly amount to come to Watford, because like you said to me the other day and to someone else, this would probably be Ashley Young's last contract in football, so he probably wants a decent payout now. And Scott Duxbury's probably seen that and thought, let's see what else is about and see what we can do. And it looked not too far away. Tottenham, they've released Danny Rose and seen that he's available after being released. There was history with Danny Rose, and yes, he's played for the club before, but Watford almost signed him on the deadline down a couple of years ago. And it was down to Daniel Levy, who was being really stubborn. He's very similar to Pozzo's Gino, where he wants to get every single penny out of you. And Watford, Gino wasn't budging, and he didn't want to pay over the odds for Danny Rose. It didn't come off that time, but he's gone back in for him now, and I think it's a good bit of business. I think he's probably a better option for Ashley Young. I said to you yesterday, he's actually 5 years younger than Ashley Young.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that.
He's only 30, whereas Ashley Young's 35. So I think he can offer more than him. Ashley Young, he would only be looking for a 1 year, 2 year contract. Danny Rose is going to come in on a 2 year contract, it looks like. But if he impresses, there's no harm in
Absolutely
renewing it and getting him to stay at the club for longer. I just hope Danny Rose. There's two Danny Roses. I think there's a Danny Rose that we've seen on the Amazon documentary, where he's obviously lost his shit with Jose Mourinho, but he was a player and he just wanted to play football.
Exactly.
And he wasn't really treated fairly, I don't think.
Exactly.
And I don't know why Amazon's shown that. Obviously, they're looking to boost numbers. Anyway. Yeah, it's about the views, but no, not why Amazon showed it. I don't know why Tottenham allowed to show it, because it just showed how poorly run Tottenham is and how things behind the scenes don't look good. And that's why Pochettino ended up leaving, because the things behind the scenes, it wasn't good. It was not a good vibe. So I just hope we get for Danny Rose. He's hungry. He's obviously hurt from being released at Tottenham, or maybe he's actually quite happy he's been released from Tottenham because he wasn't getting played. He's had a loan spell at Newcastle under Steve Bruce when we was in the Premier League. I think he played against us at the Vic when there was no crowds. So I think he's got a point to prove. I think with the right attitude, I think he would be a really good signing. Would I play him in front of Adam Messina though at the moment? I'm not sure. It's really tight.
Really?
I think
that one picks himself, Ben. And listen, with me saying that's no disrespect to Adam Messina, because Adam Messina was brilliant for us last season. Well, I say brilliant. There was a couple of times last season where he was questionable, but towards the end of the season, when Cisco, everything was clicking right, I thought he was really, really good. But I think that one picks himself. I think Danny Rose has got to start.
I think there's a couple of things. You and me and other listeners, before at the start of the season, I think we all said that he would be happy if Adam Messina moved on. We didn't really think he was a good defender and he would be good enough for Watford in a Championship. But since he came back from his injury and made that brilliant appearance off the bench against Norwich at home, I think he's just grown stronger and stronger. And I just feel if it comes to the first game of the season and Adam Messina's not starting, I'd feel so gutted for Adam Messina because of what he contributed to the season last year. But look, we need to improve on the side, don't we? And yes, Danny Rose would improve the side. I just think for a bit of sentiment, I think I might start Adam Messina and then have Danny Rose just on his heels, and he would come in straight away whenever there's a mistake from Adam Messina. And it won't be long, because if there is mistakes in him. But yeah, I just think I've seen on Twitter today that we've been linked with another left back. We've been linked with so many left backs at the moment. Watford Observer have obviously came out and said there's nothing in it, and we're alluding to Cornet from Lyon.
Yeah,
Maxwell.
He's more of a winger though. He's only played a splattering of games at left back, but it's almost as if.
But we're being linked with so many left backs at the moment, and it's like, do they not trust Adam Messina as well? And I've seen people on Twitter today saying, wouldn't be surprised if we end up signing another left back and end up sending Messina out on loan to Udinese. So that would be interesting to watch and see what happens with that as well. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be enjoyable seeing what Xisco does. It's going to be interesting when it comes to the first game of the season and looking on Twitter at 2:00 to see what side is actually picked. Because Danny Rose does definitely improve the starting lineup. It's just whether Xisco wants to stick with the players that got him promoted, or does he want to bin them out straight away and put in the new signing. It's one of those, isn't it? It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it really, really is. And to be honest, I was hoping you'd be speaking a little bit longer there, because I don't know if the listeners can hear that, but I'm outside at the moment recording, and I'm in the unfortunate/fortunate position of being directly under the flight path of East Midlands Airport. So this plane's just flew over as you were speaking then. So if everyone heard that, then I do apologise. But I completely agree with everything you just said, Ben. And it's going to be interesting to see, mate. I'm just buzzing for football coming back already. I know the Euros are running everything else, but I'm just looking forward to domestic football coming back, to be honest. But
what would you do with a situation? Would you start Danny Rose from the off?
If you start him in pre-season, then I would. I think he's good enough to just slot back into a Premier League side. A lot of people, there'll be some people that will be listening to this thinking, well, that's not very, fair on Adam Messina. He's just helped us get promoted and everything. But it's, if you go with experience, the thing about Xisco is, yes, he's a brilliant character and all that, but when you get promoted, you have to be ruthless. And if Danny Rose is a better option, then you simply have to start him, because look what happened last time. We suffered because we perhaps didn't make decisions in terms of team sheets where we perhaps should have done. So yeah.
Yeah, like I said, it's all about the attitude of Danny Rose, isn't it? He's obviously going to be joining a new side, and he's got a point to prove, and he wants to be hungry, and he wants that starting lineup. So he might come in from day one and impress Xisco, and he might be the number one left back straight away.
I hope
Another thing I'll throw at you: if we were to sign Ashley Young, would you start him over Adam Messina? Because I'm not sure I actually would.
No, I don't think I would. I think.
So then that just shows how good of a signing Danny Rose is, because it's actually an upgrade on Ashley Young, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's no disrespect to Ashley Young, and a lot of people might be listening thinking, well, fuck Ashley Young, he's done all this, he's done all that, but
I'd only have him for the set pieces, just to score another free kick.
Yeah, it's his set pieces are a real good sort of threat, as we noticed when they played against us in that 4-2 season, as yet another plane comes over my head. I mean, I thought we were in lockdown, mate, and all these planes are coming over my head. I'm sure that's the same one that's just come round here. I think he's just done a U-turn by the looks of it.
Are you sure you're not plane spotting? Have you got your notepad out and you're writing down all the numbers on the back of the plane?
Well, if I am, I'm writing the numbers down to put a complaint into East Midlands Airport. So, yeah, it's that one's gone now. So hopefully there's no more. But yeah, no, Ashley Young's set pieces are obviously very, very good, and we still really yet to see the set pieces of Philip Zinkernagel, and obviously we got a set piece specialist in Imran Louza. So you know, we could be spoiled for choice with set piece takers next season, Ben. Considering we almost didn't score for one. Well, considering we almost didn't score from one for what, 5 years was it, or 6 years? I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And I can see Ashley Young going to Burnley, to be honest, Ben, because I didn't realise this is how old I am. Ashley Young played with Sean Dyche at Watford when Dyche was
Yeah, I saw
captain.
that.
I was like, Jesus Christ, I am old.
Yeah, there was a link. If you
Yeah,
didn't know that Sean Dyche and Young had a relationship before, and you just saw Ashley Young to Burnley, why would he go there? But
yeah,
it kind of makes sense, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, see this."
absolutely. Next player we've been linked with is it's going to be a little bit quiet on this next one, Ben. This sort of come about a couple of weeks ago, and it's Lewis Ferguson from Aberdeen. He's centre mid. He's 21 years old, and we've had a 2 million bid rejected by Aberdeen. Now, what made me laugh about all this was
They weren't happy,
Aberdeen.
were they?
They weren't best pleased, Ben. They put a statement out saying Aberdeen Football Club is greatly disappointed to have received a written transfer request from Lewis Ferguson today. This request made after the club dismissed what can only be described as an insulting offer from an English Premier League club for one of Scotland's most talented young midfielders was rejected immediately. The club holds Lewis in high regard, having made a significant investment to both acquire and develop Lewis. He's a bright future ahead of him as an integral part of, and this is another name that people recognise, Stephen Glass's squad. So as we know, Stephen Glass scoring a free kick against Burnley in the FA Cup quarter-final back in 2003, I think it was. 2002-3 season, I think it was. But yeah, Ben, so we've had that bid rejected. He scored 10 goals for Aberdeen in all competitions. Rangers are also interested, and when they said they made significant investment, that's because he moved from Hamilton Academic in 18-19 season. He's already 140 appearances to his name in all comps, and that includes, which is quite impressive, Europa League qualifying. It's like I said, Ben, it has gone a bit quiet on this one. Can you see this one materialising again? He's a centre mid. Do we need any more midfielders, or would that maybe signal that another midfielder is going to be on the way out, or what's your thought process around this one, Ben?
I think because the whole Brexit and that, I think it's easier to shop in Europe and at home. That's where we've seen the two signings of Barr and Pollock come in.
Yeah.
I think Watford are looking over in Scotland at the moment to see who the next exciting Scottish player to come out is, because obviously we've seen the likes of Andrew Robertson, Kieran Tierney, John McGinn as well, and now Lewis Ferguson's actually really highly rated, and he scored a few goals in Europa League for Aberdeen last year as well. He looks a very exciting prospect. I do think maybe we need to offer a little bit more than 2 million for someone like that, but
Yeah.
I think it is an exciting attacking midfielder. I think he's very similar to how John McGinn plays. I don't think he would be a starter. I think he's someone you would develop, but you would have him in your matchday squad. Where we said earlier about Pollock and Barr, I think you'd want to send him out on loan. I think Lewis Ferguson would be someone you'd probably have on the bench, and you'd maybe want him to impact it off the bench. Because I think the centre midfielders are maybe a little bit light. I think we've let go Carlos Sanchez. I've seen that maybe Dan Gosling might not stick around next season. I think Watford might. Yeah, I think I've seen it somewhere. I'm not sure if it was Adam Leventhal said about it on the Athletic that maybe Watford would look to get rid of Gosling.
I hope not.
I don't think they want him for the Prem. I think they just wanted him to get out of the Championship, which is a bit sad. I wouldn't want that to happen, but yeah, I think it's just gone quiet because the season's finished over in Scotland. The player's obviously on his holidays. I saw he was in London the other day as well.
He was, yeah.
I did think, maybe he's in contact with Watford still, but I think it's just going quiet for a couple of weeks, and then Watford would look at it again. I don't think Watford are just going to put in a bid, it get rejected, and it would end there. I think Watford will come back with a second bid, and then we'll look to see what happens from that bid.
Yeah, and you know, when this was announced, you popped it on Instagram as you've been doing. One of my mates who is he's massive into his Scottish football. I think he's a Celtic supporter in terms of Scottish football terms. But he was like, Lewis Ferguson's amazing. Like, you have to sign him. Like, he'd be brilliant. And the fact that Rangers are interested as well, they went the whole season unbeaten, didn't they? So it is something that, he's obviously a good player with these big name teams after him. And maybe the 2 million bids, if he's very, very highly regarded, is a little bit of a piss take, but we might be just testing the waters. I don't know. And as I says, it has gone a bit quiet, but hopefully over the next couple of weeks it can materialise again. Um, Sticking with Scotland, as you said, Ben, it looks like we are looking in the Scottish market and hopefully finding a new or a new version of Andrew Robertson, a new John McGinn. Left back, Josh Doig from Hibernian, 19 years old. He's been subject to a bid in the region of 4 million. And he's made a handful of appearances in left mid too as well, so he doesn't just play left back. And he had a brief loan spell at Queen's Park in Scottish League 2 in 1920, making 7 appearances. And he's made 36 appearances for Hib so far. Now, if we're signing Danny Rose, we've obviously let go of Ashraf Lazar. We'll have Danny Rose and we'll have Messina. So really, we could do with maybe another left back. Could you see this one coming off, Ben, or do you think we don't need him if we sign Danny Rose?
I do see it coming off only because Christian Giratti is following him on Instagram. So that's another one who could potentially be signing. I think there was contact between Watford and Hibernian. I think the Scottish Record have stated it as well. But Watford were showing interest at maybe the wrong time of the season for him. When the Watford season finished, Hibernian had a very important Scottish Cup final to prepare for. They ended up losing that as well. So I think it's the same. The player's on holiday now, and maybe they'll readdress it in a couple of weeks' time. But I have seen the other day that Arsenal are linked with him, and Arsenal have maybe stepped up their pursuit of him. So it'll be interesting to see, is he going to join Arsenal with Kieran Tierney, another Scotsman. So I think Watford will have to act quickly if they do want to get him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think... oh, yeah, sorry, go on.
I don't think it'll cost too much either. I don't think it'll be for it won't be as much for Lewis Ferguson. I think we could maybe get him for about 1.5 million.
Yeah, I could see that happening as well. It just depends if the board think, right, okay, let's sign Danny Rose, and then if we've got Danny Rose, we don't need anyone else. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that regard. The lad is obviously talented, as we spoke about, and yeah, he can play in left mid as well. Not that we play a left mid with our formation, well, depending on what formation we go in with, but he's definitely one that I wouldn't turn my nose up at if it did happen. Just a couple of players that we've been linked with as well. Now I'll just reel their names off. So I've proper sold myself down the river with this one because the pronunciation on this, I've had 2 beers already, so this is going to be even harder. But Osazi Hoghide from Sheffield Wednesday. He's a centre back and he's 19 years old. We've been linked with. By the way, as well, whilst I'm saying all these, you probably noticed already that we haven't told you where we've found out this information. If you want to know what the sources of these transfer targets, Ben has very, very kindly put them all on the Instagram and Twitter posts. So if you're wondering who the hell has reported that, then yeah, that's who's reported that. You can find them all on the Instagram and Twitter posts. So yeah, and we don't want to get sued heavily by people as well. So yeah, make sure you check that out. Another one which surprised me, Ben, Robbie Brady. He's at Burnley and soon to be out of contract in the summer. He's a left mid and he's 29 years old. Purely because of the fact that he's a left mid and we don't play a left mid, I can't see it happening. And he's 29 years old. I wouldn't mind that one though, Ben. I don't know what your thoughts are, just quickly on that one.
I don't see it coming off really. I think he's obviously getting released from Burnley, and I think his agent's trying to get him a move. If I see him going anywhere, I see it moving. Celtic, we need him. I think we've got Zinchenko, we've got Sema. I think we're going to bring in another winger as well this summer. I don't think it's going to be Robbie Brady. I don't think he's going to offer too much. he didn't play too much at Burnley. He signed for Burnley for like a club record fee from Norwich at the
Yeah.
time, and he didn't really hit the world alight. If anything, I think he's been a bit disappointing signing for them. So yeah, I don't think I would want him. Well, I wouldn't want him at Watford, but I don't also think it's actually going to follow through. I don't think we'll end up signing him.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I think you put on there, Ben, was it Southampton and Crystal Palace are interested as well?
Yeah.
So I can see that more, Crystal Palace maybe playing a 4-4-2. So I can see that more probably. One which sort of come about early doors as well and then went quiet, but we've been given a very, very good reason as to why it's gone quiet, and we've not heard anything since. Danilo from Palmeiras in Brazil. He's a defensive midfielder and he's 20 years old. Now, we had an offer rejected by Palmeiras, and they're only willing to open talks with us if we offer a sum in excess of £12.8 million. And that's because Palmeiras, in Brazil, I think Italian teams used to do this, but I think Brazil still do it. They only own 70% of Danilo's economic rights. So Danilo, in his current contract, there's an £85.9 million release clause, and that's set to run up until 2025. Now, he's made 55 appearances in total, and he's scored 3 and assisted 3, and he's won the Brazilian Cup and the Copa Libertadores winner as well. So he's quite a decorative CV for a 20-year-old. But a defensive midfielder, Ben, possibly rules out maybe Tom Cleverley, Dan Gosling sort of player this season. Again, can you see this one coming off? And if so, do you think he'd fit right in and maybe take the place of a Cleverley or a Hughes or a Gosling?
I think when we was talking earlier, and I was saying about losers not going to really be that Capoue replacement, Danilo is. He's got the build of Capoue. He's very similar. The way he plays, he's a defensive midfielder. He's got long legs as well, just like Capoue. And the club is actually in quite a lot of financial trouble as well. And they only really want Watford to up it by another couple of million as well. So if Watford were really keen to get their man, they just need to up it by another million or two, and I think I can see it happening. Pozzos love a Brazilian starlet, don't they? And he's only 20 years of age. I think he's got a lot of potential, and I think he is probably someone who would come into the side straight away. I'm not sure Loser would maybe start straight away with Chalobah and Hughesy there, but I think Danilo, if we get him in, I think he potentially could. I'm excited by this one.
Yeah, and I think maybe that would maybe end the chances of Cleverley or a Gosling, which is a real shame because, and we won't talk about current players because we could probably do another separate podcast on that. But in terms of Tom Cleverley, I would quite like to see him given another go. But then again, does it come back to what I said earlier in the podcast where you have to be ruthless and say, look, you've helped us get up, but you're not good enough for the Premier League. And a lot of people will say we don't really want to be playing Tom Cleverley. But, from a sentimental point of view, I think Tom Cleverley deserves every chance, he's got. And again, as you said, they love a starlet from Brazil. Will it be made harder by the fact of Brexit? As you mentioned earlier in the podcast, it's yet to be seen. But this one, even though I've never seen a clip of the bloke in my life, this one excites me. It really, really does. Another player we mentioned earlier, Siriki Dembele, Peterborough striker, 24 years old. I think it was a local newspaper in Peterborough which said that we were linked amongst other clubs as well. Sticking with strikers, because as we said, me and Ben earlier in the podcast, we said, don't worry, I'm sure the club aren't just going to sign Ashley Fletcher and that's it. We have been linked with Eddie Nketiah from Arsenal. He's 22 years old, a striker. Now, this one excited me, and funnily enough, my best mate in the village, who I'm going to be working with, Dan Hogg. Hoggy, if you're listening, hope you're doing well, mate. We offer often watch a lot of football, and I said to him a couple of months ago when the Premier League was still going but the Championship had finished, I said I quite like Nketiah because he's a bit of a fox in the box kind of character, and he seems to be scoring. He seems to know where the back of the net is, and he had a successful loan spell at Leeds, which I'll talk about in a minute. And lo and behold, the link has come up. So he's entered the last year of his contract, and he'd be available for 15 million. Now, according to Fabrizio Romano, who is an absolutely superb journalist on Twitter, claims to be a Watford fan as well, or at least likes Watford very, very much. And I think Troy Deeney sent him out a shirt. It was on Instagram a couple of days ago. And he tweeted a couple of days ago that Arsenal have made a new contract proposal a few days ago, but nothing has been agreed to date. West Ham and Palace are also interested with us, but Bayer Leverkusen have been pursuing it for months to sign him on a permanent deal. And Nketiah himself has made 65 appearances for Arsenal, scoring 13 goals in all comps. And he had a productive loan spell at Leeds in 1920, scoring 5 in 19. Now this one, Ben, this really, really excites me. We know that this season we're going to need a striker that can get you a minimum of 15 goals. I'm going to say Eddie Nketiah can.
Yeah.
Yeah? You agree?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think he's an exciting striker, and I think he's someone Watford should pursue. It's going to be difficult with the teams that you've actually mentioned as well. Maybe they're a bit more, maybe a bit bigger for him to go to, but if he wants to stay local, it's only across the hedge, isn't it? Just needs to jump over the hedge at London Coney and he's in the Watford training ground. Like you say, he did brilliant at Leeds on loan. He came back from his loan spell at Leeds and hit the floor running at Arsenal, scored some good goals. But what's impressed me as well, doesn't he hold the record for most goals for England under 21s?
Does he?
Yeah, he
Oh,
can't
right.
stop scoring for him, and with all the other strikers we've actually played for England under 21s, he's actually set the record. So yeah, he's a really good striker, and it's nice to see. Again, it's another promising signing for Watford. Like we said earlier, it's another youngster. They're looking to get in the average age. It's a homegrown player. It's a player we all know as well. If I'm honest, I don't see it happening. I don't
No,
think Watford will
neither do
have
I.
enough about them to get it over the line, but we can dream. If it happens, wow, what a signing.
Yeah, and you think you've got Ismail Assar on one side, could have Loser on the other side, you could have Zinkernagel on the other side, we've got so many people we've been linked with, Ben. You could have an absolute rapid player on the other side, getting those crosses in. Eddie Nketiah will sweep them up and put them in the back of the net. That is the type of player that he is. So I really, really like that one. Like yourself, though, I can't see it coming off. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but I can't see it coming off. And if we can pull it off, then absolutely brilliant. What a signing that'd be. And like I say, I'll stick to that prediction. If we do sign him, people feel free to come back to me and say, remember that time you said he'd get 15 goals? If he does flop, then I will happily swallow my words. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that one. Talking of left wingers, Ben, that we've been linked with, who could potentially be swinging those delicious corners, swinging those delicious crosses in for Eddie Nketiah possibly. Now this one's a little bit of a different one in terms of we've not directly been linked with him. It's because of a signing from Udinese. So
I've got an update on this as well, which I've
yeah,
literally seen in the last couple of minutes.
good stuff. Well, I'll read it out. You can tell me the update. Jens Petter Haug. He's a AC Milan. He's a left winger and he's 21 years old. Now, the information was Milan are interested in Udinese player Rodrigo de Paul, who we have also been linked with, as well as Leeds. So I would absolutely love it if we got him and Leeds didn't, because haha, Leeds, fuck you. And they could offer 20 to 25 million plus Haag. This could then see Haag being sent to Watford via Udinese, which again would be brilliant because it would rattle every fan base in the Premier League saying, you can't do that, that's cheating. Even my mates say it to me, and I'm like, it's not cheating because they own the same team. Haag has made 148 appearances so far. He's scored 40 goals, and this is in his career. He will be very familiar with one of our players, Philip Zinkernagel, because he's made 117 appearances for Bodo Glimt. He's made 24 for AC Milan. He's made 6 for Ailsons FK, and he's weighed 1 for Milan Primavera. I can only imagine Milan Primavera are pretty much the secondary side to AC Milan. So yeah, this could be an interesting one until you're about to tell me that it's off or something. Ben, what's the information you've got? Also, by the way, Ben has now been upgraded to the chief transfer reporter, as me and him speaking about. So, chief transfer reporter Ben Aiton, give us the latest on this one, buddy.
Yep, news just in. It's breaking news. He's actually just agreed a £35 million transfer with Atletico Madrid. 5-year deal. It looks like it's going over a line. That's going to affect this deal straight away. So I don't think we'll be seeing Howard come into Watford unless Watford actually make a money offer for him, which is unfortunate because it would have been nice to see him and Zinchenko in the same side because they both produce crazy figures over in Norway. So it's a shame. It's one that's got away, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is a shame. Maybe that paves the way for Rodrigo de Paul then. Who knows? Because we have been linked with him momentarily, although the amount of links that come up between Watford and Udinese, you do wonder sometimes whether they're just made up. But yeah, that is a shame. Another winger which we've been linked with is Adrian Mbaba. He's from Espanyol and he's 29 years old. I think that one, the reception that one got on Instagram was probably justified. Sticking with attacking midfielders, Ilias Chair from QPR. He's an attacking midfielder and he's 23 years old now. QPR have actually slapped a 13 million price tag on Chair. Chair has predominantly played as an attacking midfielder in his career, but he can also play left mid, centre mid and defensive midfielder. And he's made 125 career appearances so far, scoring 20 goals. And he joined QPR in 17-18 from Liersk SK in Belgium. Now this one, Ben, an attacking midfielder, I thought Ilias Chair at Loftus Road was their best player and he absolutely ran the game.
Yeah, at Loftus Road and Vicarage Road. I think he ran rings around us twice. He's up there with De Silva of Brentford, who's been one of the best performers against Watford last season. He's someone I'd be very excited if we do manage to sign. There's other clubs interested though. I think teams back in Belgium, the big clubs, are after him as well. Obviously QPR want to keep hold of their star player because he is their best player. Everything goes through him. If they lose him, I think it would be a massive loss to them. But they're not really made of money, QPR. I think they're still struggling with financial debt from a few years ago and that massive fine they got from when they got promoted to the Premier League when they basically bought the league, didn't
Harry
they?
Redknapp fucked them over big time, yeah.
Yeah, so they might be looking to sell still, but I'm not sure. He's a very exciting midfielder. Where would you see him fit in at Watford though? I see only
This is it, Ben. All these midfielders, you've got to be thinking one's got to be coming out. And do you know my worry? I know.
Ken Sema.
Well, I wasn't thinking him actually.
No.
I could. Now you've said it though, I could see it. My worry is Nathaniel Chalobah, Ben. Could go to Leicester maybe, Newcastle.
You know what? If out of him and Hughesy, I see Chalobah leaving Watford this summer.
Yeah, possibly. And look, you know, I couldn't blame Chalobah if Leicester come in again. I don't think they will because they've. I think I saw it the other day. Leicester being linked with Philip Coutinho, which is quite some scalp if they manage to pull it off. But if Leicester did come in for Chalobah again, I wouldn't blame him, Ben. I know we've just been promoted to the Premier League, but a chance to play in the. Did they get Europa League in the end? I think they got Europa League, didn't they? They bottled Champions League, but. The chance to play in Europe, and I'm not saying he'd be a starter there, but he'll go in there with every intention to get a starting place. So, you know, I'd be gutted if he did leave, but I don't know why I can just see Chalobah leaving, and I can see Hughesy signing a new contract hopefully. So, again, where do you fit him in is a question. I do worry about the influx of midfielders coming in, or at least being linked.
It's the same with the next guy as well. The next guy we're going to talk about.
It is.
It's another winger that we're linked with, but I don't see him getting the game time to come to Watford. I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, did you want to introduce this one?
Yeah, Harvey Elliott from Liverpool, right winger, 18 years old. According to Anfield Central, no official bid has been made as of yet. No official approach because we'd be looking to get him on loan. I think he's on loan anyway, Ben.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So no official approach has been made as of yet. Klopp wants to see how well he does in pre-season, but Brentford are also interested. Now, Harvey Elliott scored against us at Ewood Park earlier in the season. He was brilliant, and he's a brilliant prospect. But I just can't see it happening, Ben. Right winger, whilst we got Sarr, I just can't see it. He would not start over Sarr. I'll have the
Yeah, but
Liverpool fans in my
there,
DMs now, by the way.
there's Watford fans saying he's left-footed though, so you could easily put him on his left. But he's more effective on the right when he cuts in on his left, isn't he?
Yeah.
And that's where he created all those chances for Blackburn. I don't see it happening purely because
Neither do I.
if he is to go out on loan, Klopp will want him to play week in, week out. I don't think that's guaranteed at Watford.
I
It's
could
probably
see that at Brentford, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say that it's more guaranteed at Brentford. So I think it's one we could maybe dream of, but it's not going to happen.
Unfortunately. Another one is Rafael Santos Borré from River Plate. He's a striker and he's 25 years old. This one's gone a little bit quiet over the last few weeks, but I think he's got double figures this season in Argentina. So maybe another. This is a problem, right? You can. We know the Pozzos like to dip into the European market, but you know if they come over and then don't do well in the Premier League, you know it's an almighty risk. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that one happens. Another one is Kevin Bonifazi from Spal. He's a centre back, 25
What a
years
name.
old. Yeah, I know, what a name, yeah.
Bonifazi.
He had a brief spell at Udinese as well, so obviously that's where that link has come from. I think any player that's played for Udinese has possibly been linked, although not the best player, which is Bruno Fernandes. I wish he was linked with us. One that I can sort of get a little bit excited about, but another one, Ben, personally, I don't see it happening. Daryl DK, Orlando City. You're probably 21 years old. Listeners are probably sitting there thinking, oh, I know that name. Yeah, you do. According to The Athletic, the US international is on Watford's radar. He had a successful loan spell at Barnsley last season, scoring 9 goals in 19 league games, and he's also scored 8 goals in 17 league games in the MLS too, for Orlando City. Now, a lot of people were saying, well, he was crap in the playoffs. How are they judging him off 2 games, for Christ's sake? He scored 9 goals in 19 games, 19 league games. Can you see this one happening, Ben? And if so, would you think he'd be successful at Watford, or do you think we should look elsewhere?
I do see it happening.
Really?
I only see it happening if it comes towards the end of a transfer window, and we haven't got Eddie from Arsenal. I think he's going to be a bigger target to get in.
Yeah.
And also, I see him as maybe a long-term replacement for Troy Deeney.
Okay, yeah. Because he's like that sort of build sort of thing. Is that what?
Yeah, definitely. But I think Watford would want to try and get him on the cheap, but Orlando City aren't going to have that. I've seen that they've actually quoted about 13, 14 million for him. But he's an exciting youngster, isn't he? I can't believe he's only 21 for the size of him, the build he's got. He definitely looks much older. I'd say check his passport.
Yeah, I think I read on Transfer Market, which it's often a godsend. These stats, by the way, that I'm getting are from Transfer Market, and I think Barnsley, the reason that they didn't have him back is they rejected the $20 million. Now that might translate into £13 million that you've just quoted there, but $20 million. Orlando City wanted for him. So is it too much of a risk? Possibly. Who knows?
Maybe, but they've turned their attentions elsewhere, haven't they? I think they've put in a cheeky bid for Stipe Parisia, haven't they, for about 1.5 million. So Stipe Parisia could be playing at Oakwell next season.
Yeah, and listen, I don't want to talk about outgoings too much because this is all about incomings and everything else. But a lot of people have been slagging Parisia off, saying, "Oh, he's one of the worst players." I saw one guy saying he's one of the worst players that I've seen in a Watford shirt, and he's, a lot of people, saying, "Oh, take the money and run." I'm just like, whoa! I get that he didn't play many games, but you can't. I thought he was all right. I get that he didn't play a lot of games, but the fact of the matter is he didn't have a lot of games to prove himself. So I think the criticism he's getting is very, very harsh, and I think he'd thrive in a loan spell.
I just look stupid because I said last season he's Watford's best striker at the club.
Yeah. That we both said some questionable things. I'm still, if I had the editing ability to do so, I would edit together one long podcast and just put together some absolutely outrageous takes that we've done, and then put it out as one episode, because there has been plenty.
No one wants to listen to that.
No, hopefully not. But yeah, I can definitely see Stipe Perica doing well at a Barnsley. So yeah. One which has excited many Watford fans, which I don't, I've not put hardly any notes on this, by the way, because I just don't see it happening. Arnaut Danjuma, left winger again, another left winger we're linked with. You know the name because he's at Bournemouth. He's a 24-year-old. We're interested in him, according to the Athletic, Adam Levensol's article, which he put out a couple of days ago. Go and check it out if you haven't already. Bournemouth has said to want 20 million. 20 million for Danjuma. Seems like a no-brainer, but there's going to be so many people interested, isn't there, Ben?
Yeah, especially after the season he's just had. Imagine him on the left and Sarr on the right.
Oh,
that's incredible. But yeah, I don't see it happening. There's other clubs interested. I think 20 million is probably a fair amount, considering
100%.
Brendia went for about 35, didn't he, to Villa, and you saw what kind of season he had. So I think 20 million for Danjuma is an absolute steal, if I'm totally honest, and it would be absolutely fantastic if we signed him, because that's another one we would have got from Bournemouth.
Yeah, exactly. He scored 17 goals in 35 games. That is literally like almost half, like a goal every 2 games sort of thing. My maths is crap, so people are probably laughing at me, but yeah, I think that's the ratio. But yeah, I can't see it happening. I really can't. Another one, Ben, you've got more of an update on this one for me. Well, for the listener, sorry. IK Ugbo, or EK Ugbo, he's from Chelsea. He's just spent on the season on loan at Cercle Bruges, as me and Ben found out when we tweeted about it. We had the Belgian fans in our replies. They were all right, to be fair to him. 22 years old striker, and he's had a successful loan spell at Cercle Bruges, scoring 17 goals in 34 appearances. Now that is literally half the goals in games. Ugbo's also enjoyed successful loan spells at Roda JC, scoring 13 in 29. Now, the article from The Athletic also said that it looked as if that it was us and then another European club, and that the European club was sort of edging closer. Now, Ben has got an update, but just before Ben gives us that update, the article did also say that we'd be keeping a close eye on Ugbo's teammate Tammy Abrahams, but I can't see us paying 40-50 million for him. He would get us minimum 15 goals in the Premier League. There is without a shadow of a doubt, but I just can't see us spending the money on him. So we'll say it. We'll say thank you. Can't see it happening. But Ben, what's the update you've got for us on EK Ugbo?
They won't really say there was much truth in it, or Watford were looking elsewhere, but Watford Observer have actually said that there's still interest there. I use a website where I get quite a lot of the rumours and all the links to Watford potential signings. I'm not going to say it.
I was going to say, don't say it, because we'll be out of a job then.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to keep it close to my chest, but I've seen on there that Watford is still interested, and Watford are one of 3 clubs. He's on holiday at the moment. He's looking to decide his future within the next week or so. So it's definitely one to monitor. He's actually had loan spells in England before at MK Dons as well.
And Scotty as well, I think.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how he does. I think it is another exciting prospect, and I think it's someone who slot into a Watford side straight away. I think he's a poacher. Most of his goals come in that penalty box. He's very rarely scoring goals outside the penalty box, so he's not that kind of striker. He's a goal poacher. He's in and around the 6-yard box. So yeah, it'll be exciting to see what he can do in a Watford shirt. But I think there's legs on this one. I think we could potentially get him.
There we go.
And I don't think the fee would be too much either.
There we go, straight from the chief transfer reporter's mouth. There is legs on this one. Keep your eyes peeled. Ike Ugbo could be coming to Watford FC, ladies and gents. 22 years old as well, don't forget. So he's got plenty of experience. He's scored goals where he's gone. Premier League will be a real test for him. The last rumour, which I'm going to touch upon very quickly because we've sort of spoken about we've spoken about him already. Ashley Young, 35 years old, Inter Milan. move looks to be all but off with Danny Rose all but confirmed. I don't know if he's been confirmed whilst we've been recording, but I don't think so, because I've not seen anything in the group chats or anything. So Young's in talk with Burnley, having played with Dyche at Watford. Dyche was his captain at Watford. Yes, I am really old. And Inter have also offered him a new contract as well. So, there's a few murmurs here and about, like here and there, saying that there's potentially we are still in for him, and he's still sort of toying with his options, so to speak. But I think the Danny Rose move all but confirms that the move for Ashley Young is off the cards. So I don't know if you've got anything more to add to that, Ben. But are you happy? Are you gutted that he wouldn't be returning, or are you happy because we've now got a more suitable replacement for him?
I wouldn't say I'm gutted. I think we've got a better replacement, if I'm totally honest. I think Danny Rose is an upgrade on Ashley Young. So, yeah, I'm quite happy that we're not pursuing it anymore, especially if he wanted silly amounts of money. Look, we can't afford to do that nowadays. So, yeah, I'm happy with what we're doing so far.
Yeah. Well, that concludes the transfer target segment. So, as I said before, a massive thank you to my co-host who has done an absolutely brilliant job on collating all of this information and putting it out as soon as possible, and hopefully putting it out before you like for the first time that you guys see. And hopefully you're saying to your workmates or your work colleagues, oh, we've been linked with this player, and it's because of the tweets that Ben's been putting out. So hopefully a few of them come off so we can start looking good. But yeah, no, massive thank you to Ben. Before we end the podcast with the questions from you guys, it is the 15th of June. Tomorrow, Wednesday the 16th of June at 9 a.m, the Premier League fixtures are released. So we're not going to go into too much depth. We are literally going to say, Ben, I'm going to ask you who you want on the opening day, who you want on Boxing Day, and who you want on the last game of the season. Now, I've chosen those three because, personally, they're the three that I look at, and I think a lot of fans look at when the fixtures come out. So, if you can give me those three, that'd be brilliant, Ben. Opening game of the season, who do you want?
Bournemouth. Oh no, right. Sorry. Sorry, I forgot they didn't get promoted.
Are they in the Prem next season? Are they? No, oh no, they're not, are they? Yeah,
gutted.
That's a shame.
I would actually want Liverpool first game of the season at home, purely because I was ill when we beat them at the Vic, that 3-0 victory, and then of COVID hit after that, and we couldn't get to the Vicarage Road ever again. So I kind of want Liverpool first game of the season, just so it's like we've never been away in a Prem as well, because we've not been to the Vic last season, bar those two games that were only a few fans could go to. So yeah, I want Liverpool first game of the season. Boxing Day, I wouldn't mind if we were away on Boxing Day, only because it would give me more time to actually spend with the family instead of like running off to a game. So I want us to be away. I wouldn't care where we were. Give me Newcastle away.
I was going to say, yeah, you want one that's far away, Ben, so you're not tempted. You're not thinking, oh, I could actually get there. You want Newcastle or, I don't know, like Brighton or someone.
They tend to do local ones, though, don't they? So I wouldn't be surprised if we get Chelsea again on Boxing Day. We've had that a few times, yeah. And then last game of the season, I don't want a big boy club. I don't want like a Norwich where it's going to come down to maybe us or them staying up. Give me someone like Burnley. Give me Burnley at home.
Yeah, Burnley at home, because Burnley away, we cannot win at Turf Moor. Our record there is horrendous. But yeah, our running last season, the 1920 season in the Prem, that last few games, they absolutely shafted us. So I'm in complete agreement with you there. Opening day of the season, for myself, I want to try and get down to it. I've not renewed my season ticket because of priorities elsewhere. I've obviously going to be buying a property, so I'm not renting, so I'll have mortgage payments and everything, so I won't be able to afford the luxury of both, unfortunately. So no season ticket for me. So I would quite like a home game, and I would look to get down to that as well. If we're at home, I wouldn't want Aston Villa, because that would really be taking the piss. The fact that we got Aston Villa but we're home when I could have just travelled away. But let's go with Let's go with Norwich at home, first game of the season, because our record against Norwich recently, we can't seem to lose against them, and I've probably just jinxed it by saying that. But yeah, let's go with Norwich first game of the season at home. If we're going to be away, I would take Leicester or Aston Villa, because it depends where I'm living. If I'm still living in Nottinghamshire, Leicester will be perfect. Villa, brilliant away day and everything else, and hopefully we can get revenge on that 2-1 defeat earlier in the season. I think that was my last away game. Boxing Day, I would want. I'm not really bothered who we get. I just want to be able to enjoy Christmas. So give me another easy one. Crystal Palace, they're in the shit at the moment. So yeah, give me Crystal Palace. We had Crystal Palace one Boxing Day. I think it was under Mazzari, and I think we won 1-0. I think Troy Deeney scored the penalty. That was his 100th goal,
yeah,
wasn't it? Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
I think I won a bet that day. I won an accumulator, and I think I won like 200 quid. So that was a good day. So if we could replicate that this season, if anyone's listening,
That paid for your train ticket, didn't it?
Exactly. So if anyone's got the power to decide the fixtures or anything, give us Crystal Palace at home on Boxing Day, please, and maybe have a word with a couple of other Premier League teams so I can win another bet. But last game of the season, again, don't want anyone too tough. Let's go with who we going with. Who's in the Premier League? Let's go with Brentford. Brentford at home we'll go with last game of the season. So yeah, that's who I want. So don't forget, ladies and gents, the fixtures are out 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that one. I'll also be looking as well when we get Man City, because I am not looking forward to that one. Let's put it that way. But yeah, we appreciate it's been a long podcast, but we are now going to end on a few questions that we've got from you guys. It's been a long time since we've answered your questions. First question we've received is from Jacob Deacon. Jacob asks, what are you most excited about ahead of the Premier League season, Ben? Anything in particular about the Premier League season? Maybe seeing the big boys again at the Vic, or just being in the elite league in the world, or anything in particular for yourself about the Premier League that you're looking forward to?
I think it's just going to be seeing the calibre of players that you see in the Premier League, isn't it? The players that you see coming to Vicarage Road, from the size of obviously Man City and Liverpool and Manchester United and etc., where you don't really get to see that in the Championship. So yeah, especially off the back of the Euros, where we're watching the Euros and you're seeing really good football and some of the players that are in the Premier League. It's like, I'd really like to watch him live next season.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that'd be it for me.
Yeah, I think with myself, it's just the luxury of being in the Premier League again. I think you hit the nail on the head earlier, Ben. The fact that before the pandemic started, we were in the Premier League. We've had a season of football behind closed doors, no fans other than those two games where there was a splattering of fans allowed in. And then hopefully the next time that we're back in the Vic at full capacity, we're back in the Premier League. So it's like it never happened. And I think a lot of people look at Watford and they always write us off. I noticed that, you know, we're bookies' favourites to go down already. That's to be expected because we've just come back up from the Premier League. I totally understand that, but I like sort of proving people wrong. Those 5 years we were in the Prem before, every season we got sort of tipped to go down, and it took 5 years for the bookies to actually get it right and the pundits to get it right. So I just like that, and the fact of we always beat a big six in inverted commas side every season. I'm looking forward to those sort of nights at Vicarage Road. You know, if we play a Tottenham in under the lights, or we play an Arsenal under the lights, or Chelsea or whatever, and we get the and we get the win that we're looking for. So it's going to be really, really interesting. As another plane flies over, it's going to be really, really interesting to be back in the Premier League, and also hopefully beating those big scalps again. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to the most in the Premier League. So yeah, Mike R sent a question in here from Twitter saying, do you think we've seen goal of the tournament already in terms of the Euros? So a Euros question, Ben. And I assume he's referring to the Sheik goal, I think it's Sheik goal against Scotland. So do you think that's a goal of the tournament so far, Ben?
Oh, 100%, yeah. What a fantastic goal. The vision, it was like David Beckham-esque, wasn't it? Or someone pointed out on my Twitter yesterday, it was more like Chris Eagle-esque. What
Against
great
Brighton.
great vision for him, just to spot him off his line. But I heard an interview with him after the game. He said he saw Marshall come off his line a few times like that in the game earlier on, and he just thought, I'll just give it a go if it comes to me. And what a finish. What was the keeper doing anyway? I know we've had a big discussion about this on our WhatsApp group. We're not going to go into the details now, but goalkeeper, yeah, I don't know what he was doing. But yeah, goal of the season, 100%. I don't think there's anyone else that really compares with it. We've seen good goals, but nothing like that.
Yeah, no, that was something special, that was. And you know, Mike also asked, is there anyone at the Euros that you've seen so far? He's put affordable lol, because we could literally say Ronaldo here. But he said anyone that jumps out in your mind that you'd quite like Watford to sign. And to be honest, that Sheik, I know he's at Leverkusen, but he's 25 years old. He scored 9 goals in 29 games for Leverkusen. And then before that, he was at RB Leipzig, and he'd scored 10 goals in 22. So he'd had a spell at Sampdoria as well, 11 goals in 32 games. So again, you know, he knows where the back of the net is, and he's 25 years old. So it's he's probably the one, from my point of view, that I wouldn't mind us signing. But to drag him from Leverkusen to Watford, is that possible? Possibly not. I don't know if there's anyone else that you've seen, Ben, at the Euros that you like the look of and you wouldn't mind seeing in a Watford shirt. That is affordable. But for me, that Sheik, I really like the look of him.
I've not seen too many games. I've probably seen about four matches. Someone who I did watch last night for Sweden actually was Alexander Isak, the young striker they've got up top. I think he's 21 years of age. Very, very, very good player. Yeah, I didn't realise how good he was. I looked into him a bit more after the game last night. He scored a hatful of goals for Real Sociedad. He's actually scored 6 goals for Sweden as well already, and he's only 21 years of age. He's been playing first team football since he was like 16, 17, and at every club he's been at, I think he's been at like 4 clubs already, he scored like double figures for him. He looks a really exciting prospect, and with Watford being in a market for a striker, I think, and he could be affordable as well, especially at Real Sociedad. Am I right in thinking Real Sociedad, are they in just being promoted back into La Liga? Did they have a spell out of the top flight?
Real Sociedad, I believe, were in La Liga as it stood. They finished 5th in La Liga last season.
Okay.
So yeah, they've got, I think they've got Europa League. So they qualified through the group stage. They were quite some way off Villarreal in 4th, but yeah, like you said, Isaac is Alexander Isaac, his name. 17 goals in 34 games for Real Sociedad this season.
What's that?
13.
Top goal scorer, wasn't he?
He must have been with those. Here's one that'll blow your mind. Willem 2 in Holland, I think they are. 13 goals in 16 appearances. And then he played for AIK Stockholm, 10 goals in 24 appearances. So
that's what I mean. Double figures for all these teams that he's played at, and he's started his career very young, and he just looks really good. And like Sweden didn't have many opportunities last night,
no,
but he just looked very lively and
the goat as well.
Yeah.
He's also asked on a bacon sandwich, which I absolutely devoured one on Sunday morning before the England game. Are you a red or a brown sauce man? For me, there's only one answer, Ben.
It's brown sauce all day.
Yes,
bacon.
thank you.
Makes the flavour come alive, and then for me, it's red sauce and sausages.
Okay, I can work with that. I mean, I mentioned him earlier in the pod. My mate Dan, I literally spend most of my weekends with him, and he absolutely hounded me for having brown sauce on a bacon sandwich. He swears by red sauce on it. I'm like, no, Dan, you've got it wrong, mate. It's brown sauce all day. It is brown sauce all day. Next question we've received from James Hurst on Twitter. The first one made me laugh because he said favourite J2O flavour. Now, James, I haven't drank a J2O since I was about, 12. I've been drinking beers since, so it's, it's been a while, but orange and passion fruit all day. Yeah, my brother used to swear by the ones with glitter in them, but yeah, it's got to be orange and passion fruit. I did on that note as well, by the way, with J2Os. I did see someone. Well, I saw a page on Instagram which regularly posts memes. Because I'm obviously very, very easily entertained. But someone apparently referred to a J2O as a J20, and that proper messed with my head.
No.
Like, who are these people? They need locking up big time. Um, Next question we've received, George White, another regular listener. Ben, if you could pick one transfer target we've been linked with, sorry, who would you choose?
Oh, it's such a tight one, isn't it?
It
That
is, isn't it?
one. Dan Juma.
Yeah, it's got to be Dan Juma, and he's really, really exciting. And I think you summed it up perfectly, Ben. If Sarr stays and Dan Juma was to come in, that would be one hell of a strike force. And I think Dan Juma for me as well, with Eddie and Nketiah closely followed in second. That brings me on nicely to the next question. Catherine Jones has said, do you think Sarr will stay, Ben?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think if we stayed in the Championship, there was every possibility that he was going to leave and go to a club back in the Premier League or to another league elsewhere. With us being back in the Prem, he's definitely going to stay. I think he'll do the whole season as well. So yeah, I think he'll stay at Watford if we do well. If we finish maybe mid-table or something, who knows? We could potentially keep hold of him for another season. But a good season with Sarr, playing week in, week out, he could add to his value as well, and there could be an interesting time in the season where Gino gets a really good offer for Sarr. He's definitely going to start the season with Watford, though.
Yeah, no. Sorry, I have to laugh. Whilst you're answering that question, I'm stood in my kitchen because it's no secret that I've been having a few connectivity issues, so I've been moving about the house, and I'm in the kitchen, and I've just looked down, and we've had this stray cat that's been turning up for quite some time to the house, and it's actually come inside now, and it's eating our actual cat's food. So I have to laugh, and I have to share it with you guys as well.
What he's going to
the
say
pod.
is unplug your internet connection.
It could be the reason why. It could be chewing through the cables. Absolute bastard. Next question. I think we've answered this one before, by the way, but Hornet Shane says, favourite ice cream flavour. I think we have answered this because we both said the same answer, but it's got to be mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip, yeah, all day long. Yeah.
All day long. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to be. No flavour comes close. Absolutely none whatsoever. And then we'll end on one question. We do understand, we do appreciate everyone has sent loads of questions in. We'd love to be able to, but we've spent that long recording. We just don't want you to be put to sleep by my droning Brummie accent. So we've sort of cut a few of the questions. We will answer them at some stage, though. We have tended to, if we've not been able to answer the questions, we'll probably look at doing them in the next available episode. The last question we're going to finish on is from another regular listener, is Caroline, and she said, "Who do you think will be favourite for the captain armband and why?" Very, very interesting question, because I don't think Troy's going to play much this season. So would it be him? I don't know. I would actually say it's so difficult because you don't know how we're going to line up. I wouldn't mind Bachmann getting it because he's very, very vocal and he's not afraid. He's not afraid to have a bollock. He's not afraid to bollock a few players. So that's my question. That's my answer. Sorry, your answer on that one, Ben?
I think we're going to start the season with Troy Deeney as club captain. When he's not in the side, though, who's going to pick up that armband? I think it's going to be Tom Cleverley for me. He led by example all season. He fully deserves the opportunity to be captain in the Premier League. So yeah, my hat's going on Tom Cleverley.
Very, very interesting pick there, Ben. And I can see why, we talked about earlier that he might not even get a start with all these midfielders coming in. Just whilst we're on that subject, Ben, can you see him? I want to ask, can you see him staying? Because I don't know where else he'd go. But do you think he will get many games this season, Ben? Or do you think we'll probably look for maybe a younger option?
I still think he's important to his Watford side. I think during tough times in the season, he was the one who was pulling us through the mud and getting us through to the other end. I think he's still good enough for a Premier League. Yes, we've been linked to a lot of midfielders and that, and maybe some of these midfielders can offer more than Tom Cleverley in like technical ability. But if they wouldn't add more passion to the club than Tom Cleverley, you can't buy that passion that Tom Cleverley brings to the football club. I think he could be a starter still. It'll be interesting to see how we line up first game of the season, but I do think there's a place in that Watford starting 11 for Tom Cleverley.
Yeah, I'd quite like to. I'd be safe in the knowledge knowing that Tom Cleverley will get game time, and hopefully he does, because as you say, he was absolutely pivotal. In the team going up, and he was always saying, look, we got you down, so we want to get you back up again. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in that respect. But yeah, we listen, we really do appreciate, as always. I'm starting to sound like a bit of a broken record here. I've not said it for a month, so that's why I'm saying it again. We really do appreciate the questions that have been sent in, and apologies we haven't got round to everything. We do appreciate it. It has been a little bit of a longer podcast, but we're always linked with loads and loads of players over the course of the transfer window. So we really do appreciate if you have stayed through this whole podcast. We really do appreciate it. Let us know what you thought if you'd lasted the duration. And myself and Ben will be back in the not so distant future, whether it's reacting to maybe, I don't know, the first game of the season. Maybe it's reacting to a transfer special part 2 where we talk about players that have actually signed as opposed to just transfer targets. We don't know. Me and Ben will decide that, and obviously communicate that with you guys that follow us. So yeah, but we really do appreciate it. The first proper Watford chat in a month, and hopefully it's not too of a bad fixture release day tomorrow, and we can talk about getting Burnley on the first day and having an absolutely brilliant start to the campaign. But yeah, from myself and Ben, thank you very much for listening to the podcast as always, and yeah, we can't wait for this season that's coming up. So take care, guys, enjoy the rest of your week, and come on, you Horns.